Today, I'm carrying on from the last episode, talking about the innate health assessment, the political noise it's created, and why pedigree breeds like Bulldogs are back under the spotlight. Welcome to the Bulldog Owners Podcast, where I host a passionate conversation about pedigree dogs. I'm Sarah, and here we cut through the myths and misinformation to talk honestly about life with Bulldogs. So I currently have an hour and 10 minutes left of my car journey. So I thought this would be an ideal time to capture another podcast episode. I've got a dog in the car with me. So again, he might make some noises, but he's a pretty good traveller. So I'm sure he won't be too noisy. So I wanted to give you an update in regards to the last episode where I talked about the IHA, the innate health assessment, and how that might impact dog breeding going forward, and therefore the dogs breeds going forward and puppies available. I tried to give an overview of where we're at now, basically, and what's happened in the last, eight years or so. Now, I originally said that this was like a political working group that have got together, and they did initially seek the Kennel Club's consultation. But again, there was quite a big meeting last week. Another I don't know, I'm not too political, so in I don't know, the House of wherever, chambers of wherever. So basically, all the big players got together because they realised that this IHA was causing some ripples, and is everyone on the same path? And what you'll see now, there's quite a lot of MPs that are now weighing in on the conversation, and they're pro IHA because they don't really understand dog breeding. This is what worries me, is there's a lot of people getting involved that probably don't even own a dog, or if they have owned a dog, they've never bred a dog, yet they've got quite a lot to say about it. And as we all know, statistics can be manipulated to say whatever you want them to say. But the IHA has caused a lot of bother because it impacts where, like, Bulldogs have been low hanging fruit. Like any brachycephalic breed has been low hanging fruit. So pugs, Pekingese, anything that's got like the extremities of muzzle. But this IH, because it talks about back length and leg height and all that kind of stuff, it actually impacts quite a lot of terrier breeds as well. So that's why a lot of people are now sort of panicking over it. Now I'm under the school of thought there's more of them than us. So as much as we have a little government that try and act in our best behalf, which obviously they don't. That's a joke if you believe that, but they act on behalf. They trick us that they act in on our best behalves. All lots of changes anyway. So obviously this instability is obviously filtering through to other political agendas that are out there, of which dog breeding is one of them. And so I want to just talk about the Kennel Club because there's a lot going on with them as well. So they celebrated 150 years. I think it was about 2 years ago. So they're probably like 157 years now. That's when they were awarded the Royal Kennel Club rather than Kennel Club. And they updated their website, and they've started using that branding as part of their 150th celebrations, even though it's quite a while after that. And the problem, as we all know, with any well-established company, collective, is, and especially one that's based on preservation and heritage, is, and especially given that the Kennel Club was like an old gentleman's club originally, so it's perceived as old and stuffy, isn't it? And obviously there's always that hard line of how do you maintain heritage and preservation but still bend and flex and appeal to younger generations and be dynamic and all that kind of stuff. And they have definitely struggled to do that, like in the last, I would say, 6 years at least. Now, there's been changes there, and they seem to be making a lot of changes quite quickly because they realise that they're a little bit of a sinking ship. So, back in the day, if you purchased a pedigree dog, it come with its pedigree that was registered to the Kennel Club that basically told you this dog has heritage, and therefore, it has a traceable lineage, and therefore it's a quality dog. Now, they are the monopoly holder of registration of dogs. But how they function in the UK is very different, for instance, to what the American Kennel Club do, so the AKC, who are a registration body as well. But with the Kennel Club, they are a registration body, so you register your dogs with them. And by registering your dogs with them, it means that you can compete at any events that they oversee. And there's hundreds of shows held throughout the year. You know, you literally could go to a dog show every weekend in the UK if you wanted to. And they are the one that manage the awards, and they're the ones that say that, you know, this is what makes a dog a champion, and this is how you qualify for Crufts, and Crufts is their show. So Crufts is the only show you have to qualify at another show to be able to attend their show. You can't just pay your entry fee and go, which is good because that shows they're maintaining standards. The problem is that their registrations have started falling because when all the fancy colours were introduced, and are all like non-recognised colours, basically, the colours that aren't written, and I'm not just talking about Bulldogs here, I'm talking about all breeds. It's not in the breed standard, and even in some breed stands, it said like some colours are certainly undesirable, and it's considered a fault. Now, there's different reasons why this might be in the breed standard. So it might be because there was temperament issues originally connected to that colour. It might be because of just the public perception associated to that colour. It might be because they're a working dog, and actually a dog in that colour is harder to see or harder to do whatever activities with. It's not just like you always get this, oh, don't be racist to my dog, which is just ridiculous. But there's normally a reason why that colour, or it's an overly dominant colour, and you would lose all the other colours if that colour was in the gene pool. It's normally a reason associated. And obviously, having a pedigree dog, a purebred pedigree dog, it's meant to be the best and purest of its caliber. So like sometimes it can even come down to coat markings, coat patterns. So for instance, and Bulldogs, to be fair, compared to some breeds, is pretty flexible. It's pretty much anything goes as long as it's not black, and then obviously all the fancy colours that come after that point. But in other breeds, so for instance, a French Bulldog, up until very recently, you couldn't show a fawn pied, which is basically like a brown dog with 50% or more white on it. Yet in other parts of the world, so the FCI in Europe, you could show a fawn pied. And really, there's no health associations with showing a fawn pied. So now in the UK, you can show a fawn pied. But another thing with French Bulldogs, and I say French Bulldogs because they are the cousin of the Bulldog, so they're the closest you're going to get to a Bulldog without it being a Bulldog. We just kind of say you want the purest form of what it is. So if you want the whites to be whites and the browns to be browns and all that kind of thing. So I tell you that because obviously you can't show, well, you could show a dog that's of non-recognised colour. And I have been to a show where someone's turned up with a Bulldog of what would be deemed an incorrect or undesirable colour. And they can go into the show ring, but the judge would say this dog lacks merit because it does not follow the Bulldog breed standard. And so it's unfortunate that the people that I saw went through that because they had no clue that their dog wasn't of the correct colour, that they can't show it. Otherwise, why would they take it to dog training, enter into a show, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get their ass to a show, for them to be told embarrassingly, you can't show here, or you can, but you're not going to get placed. There's a big education gap that's missing out there, and I think this will get bigger because we have well-established breeders not connecting enough to people that are looking for Bulldogs, and there's a whole load of genre of people that are marketing very well to these people but failing to tell them that they're not bred to Kennel Club breed standards. So, which is one of the reasons why, obviously, I'm doing this podcast, and I'll come on to some other reasons that I think it should be improved. So, because of this, because of the fact that non-recognised colours can't be, and it happens in all breeds. There's silver Labradors, there's platinum French Bulldogs. In all the breeds, males popping into all sorts of breeds that should never have male as a colour, and that's because a group of breeders, basically the only way to be able to sell their puppies was to say that they were rare. And people just get fanatical about something that's rare, but they're not rare anymore, because there's probably more in, especially in Bulldogs, unrecognised colours, not recognised colours than traditional standard colours. So it's going all full circle now. The easiest way that they could say their dogs were special is because of its coat colour. And unfortunately, these people have very little understanding in regards to conformation structure of a dog and the health of a dog or the temperament of a dog. So all of that went out the window just because of the colour coat that this dog had. Because these dogs were X amount of money, people, it was kind of almost like a pyramid scheme where people then go, oh, well, if I've actually purchased this dog for £10,000, then I need to breed her. And then if she gives me 10 puppies in a lifetime for 10,000, then it's, I've not lost any money. Well, I've certainly definitely not lost money. I've made enough money that it was worth an investment. So thankfully, these people are falling by the wayside, but they still very much exist. And then obviously you have people that are at the bottom of the triangle, that's all the dog that they can afford, and they're going to carry on breeding that type because they know no better. Now, this popularity has grown, which meant that the Kennel Club's registrations have fallen, because these dogs can't be registered with them. So they sort of said, oh, they can't be registered. And then they said, no, we'll register them, but then we'll register them as colours not recognised, but you basically can't show them. So then the people were like, well, why am I even bothered about registering with you? I'll register them with an additional registration. And basically anyone can set up a company and say, I am like, it could be Sussex Kennel Club Society, and I register all the dogs, and I just find out their parents' details, and I give them a fake registration number or real registration number, send them a little bit of paper, and that dog's registered. So you have to be very clear when you're reading puppy adverts. It has to be very clear whether it's a Kennel Club registered dog or just a registered dog. And you most certainly want to see the paperwork in advance of you collecting that puppy, because by the time you go and collect the puppy, it's too late and you're walking away with whatever paperwork you've been given. Now, the value of a Kennel Club registered dog had reduced. So their puppy registration sales had reduced. And then also showing numbers have reduced because it's very expensive to travel around the country. If not Europe, you can show abroad as well. And it's so funny because people think you win like prize money and stuff. And most of the time you'll win a rosette and a piece of card. So yeah, you've got to be a certain type of person to get motivated by such a win. Obviously, the aim is a competition. So if you want to prove your ability to understand a breed standard and to breed a good dog or to show a good dog, then that's why you get in the ring. And people need to remember, when you show a dog, even though you're all in the class together, the judge isn't comparing you to each other. They're comparing each dog to the breed standard. So anyway, show numbers have fallen. The Kennel Club makes money out of hosting shows. And then obviously they have to oversee the awards and the management of all of that. Then you've got registration numbers falling. However, the number of dogs being bred in this country have not fallen. They have increased. So they're basically losing out as a company. They're losing out on a lot of money. There's their profits. I think it was 2024, because we've just finished 25, rolling into 26. 2024, I think there were £15 million loss. So that's how drastic their numbers are. So recently, the Kennel Club this year basically said, you know what? We want to help everybody breed good quality dogs. And so they realised they're missing out on what's become popular, which is the crossbreeds. So cockapoos, cavapoos, anything with a doodle on the end, all this kind of stuff. Basically, these fluffy, teddy bear looking dogs are the hot thing at the moment, which is crazy because if you look at like some of the Labradoodles, there are Kennel Club dogs out there like the Gotto that are basically the same dog but a pedigree dog with amazing heritage. Now the problem with these crossbreeds is that you don't always get the type because like not all of them are going to get the type of their parents. So you might have something that's more Springer than more Poodle and all that kind of thing. And then obviously the temperament comes with that. But it will be argued by people like the IHA that these dogs are healthier because they have a lower COI, which is a coefficient of inbreeding. Any dog that's a pedigree dog will have a percentage of inbreeding to keep that type, to make that dog, to make a boxer look like a boxer, to make a German Shepherd look like a German Shepherd. Now, the closer you breed in type, then the higher the coefficient goes up. So it's especially show people their coefficients are going to be higher because they want to lock in on certain traits. And it's clear to see, even in bulldogs, not every bulldog looks the same. You have teddy bear looking ones, you have more traditional split nose ones. And that's because the person breeding those dogs, they want to lock into a type that they like. And obviously, as the breeder, like what shows anymore that you're doing a good job that someone could go, I know who that's bred by. Just by looking at that dog, I know who that's bred by. So it's sort of like being a bit of an artist, an artistry to your breeding. Um, and like for instance, like I have what I breed is a very certain type. You won't see much of my stuff with an overhanging nose roll. Well, you won't see any show dog generally with an overhanging nose roll. But my stuff tends to be like quite split nose roll because traditionally that's what bulldogs had. I like big eyes. I want to see proper eyes, not little slits on a head. Mine have all got neck, they've all got shoulders, all solid rear back ends on them. Like I'm quite specific on certain type of dog that I want to be breeding, which is a healthy dog. So there's certain practices that I have that mean my dogs look a certain way. And there'll be other breeders, they have their certain practices that mean that they breed a certain way and they look a certain way. But what it means is their coefficients are higher. Now I'll do a separate podcast episode on why coefficients are another marketing ploy for some people. What you'll get told is the lower the coefficient, the less the common dog features in a pedigree, the healthier your dog's going to be, which is absolute no rubbish because it doesn't matter how watered down your pedigree is. If the dogs aren't healthy in it, you're still going to have unhealthy puppies, regardless of how close their pedigree is or not. But anyway, so the IHA basically say, oh, we quite like crossbreeds and stuff because they've got lower coefficients and they're generally going to be healthier dogs. And also the Kennel Club have realised, hang on, we're missing out on all these registrations because these dogs aren't being registered. So that the traceability of them is way harder. So that's the whole point of having a pedigree dog is that you have a traceable heritage. With these dogs, the Kennel Club have gone, do you know what? We're 15 million in the hole. And our registrations have reduced massively. And it's either because they're a breed that we don't accept because they're not pedigree, or there's certain quirks about them that we've always discouraged. And actually, we need to now accept these people because we're a business at the end of the day and we're losing a shed load of money and we need to welcome them with open arms. So, which is obviously a massively confusing message to then be sending out that, oh, we are a preservation society, like we look after heritage, legacy breeders, but also we'll register anyone that wants to register with us because we kind of need your money to keep going. So I think this was the wrong call for the Kennel Club to do. To me, I think, but obviously I'm not on the board there. I think they should have leaned stronger into no. This is why pedigree dogs are so good. This is why they've lasted over 150 years today, and why they'll continue to last longer than 150 years in the future, because we've been doing all of this. We have all this data. We've been guiding people this way. I just don't know. I don't know why they didn't take that stance. They've just gone, we need to help everybody breed healthy dogs and we'll take on cockapoos and cavapoos at the same time. Sorry, that's always my default just because everyone kind of knows who they are and what they are. However, the IHA released their craziness of their assessment, and the Kennel Club, I think, have gone, oh, this is a way bigger problem than we thought it might be. So the Kennel Club went to this political meeting and they basically said, look, we get what you're doing and we understand why you have reservations and concerns and why you put this in place. But basically, this is too simple. You've not used any scientific evidence or data to make this assessment. And actually, we're already doing all of this. And they presented all the stuff they're already doing. And actually, we want to bring out a nose to tail assessment that any breeding dog has a veterinary assessment to guide that person to whether they should be breeding that dog or not. And I'm sure it will be for pedigree and whatever breeds. Now, the good thing about this is that Bulldog people have already been doing this. So I'm assuming that what we already do will fall directly into this scheme that they're already talking about. So let me bring to the table the Bulldog Breed Council. So, as I already said, the Kennel Club oversee any shows that are held in this country. And I think when I last knew it was 16, I think it's a bit less than that now. But we have in double digits Bulldog clubs. And originally they were regional. So basically meant if you lived in the south, because obviously this was the day, not for me because I'm not old enough, but people used to go to dog shows on trains. It's crazy. The fact that they used to get their dog, their crates, get on a train, get to a show venue, show their dog, and then do the same to get home. So nowadays, obviously, we just jump in the car, and thank God we can. But what it meant was that because it was so difficult to travel, that the shows were held locally. So you joined your local breed club, and you knew when their shows were because you could get to it because it was fairly easy to get to. Obviously now that's different because we can jump in the car and you can I can drive from mine to Scotland or just over the border in 8 hours. And I've done Scotland back in the day for a dog show before, so it does happen. So you've got all these regional clubs, and then we also have, and so this is more to tell you. Basically, we also have national clubs as well. So the Bulldog Club Incorporated is, and this is our special Bulldogs, the oldest breed club in the world. The Bulldog breed standard existed before the Kennel Club, right? So that's how long Bulldogs have been around. That's how much Bulldog fanciers sorted themselves out before the Kennel Club even existed. And so this what adds an extra layer of complexity to it all. So sorry, I'm gonna have to tell you this backstory, so just so you understand like how we've got to this ridiculous point. But a load of Bulldog people got together, said we think a Bulldog should roughly look like this, and they wrote it down. Then I think it was literally like 2 years later the Kennel Club was established, like in 1875, I'm guessing, or thereabouts. The Kennel Club was established, and they said, look, we're going to oversee pedigree dogs, submit your breed standards to us. And that's what happened. So, but like, what are the chances that not only is the oldest breed club in the world from the UK, but there is also a Bulldog? Like, it blows my mind. So that's why the Bulldog Club Incorporated has incorporated, because they're actually a business, even though they are a breed club. And so they're a little bit of a wild card. But basically, the Kennel Club said, we can't be talking to like all these different breed clubs all the time. What we need is an umbrella club. And so what sits over the breed clubs that agree for them to sit over them. So yeah, for the clubs that agree, okay, we're happy for the Bulldog Breed Council to communicate to the Kennel Club on our behalf, and then you cascade to us. Just makes the flow of communication easier, or it was meant to at least. Because not all the breed clubs are in the breed council anymore. But anyway, that's another conversation. So the breed council, an amazing group of people that like just for pure love, like all these people that put these breed clubs together and host these shows are just passionate dog people. Like they don't get paid for it. It's not a job. They're not on a salary. It's just they love Bulldogs and they want them to keep going. So we have to share them and build a community of people that love them equally as much and educate them and keep the breed pushing forward. And so the Breed Council, they never host any shows, but they are like the middleman between the Kennel Club and to share information for it to flow two-way up and down, basically. And they oversee lots of things like education. So the reason I tell you this is because they oversee the health scheme. And so I think it was the French Bulldog Club of England originally said we're going to start doing a house scheme, and the Bulldog people said, you know what, that sounds excellent. And so you'll even see on my website, especially on my dogs page, I'll tell you what health award every one of my dogs is at if they've been health tested. So you can't take any of your dogs, and I'll do another podcast and break it down in more detail, but you can't health test your dog until they're 12 months old, which is fair enough. Generally, Bulldogs can be bred from 18 months to 2 years, all dependent on the owner and that kind of thing. But basically, third season, legally over 12 months is acceptable, but most Bulldogs will be 18 to 24 months old before they consider breeding their dog. So to have your health test done at a year old is amazing. And then and basically you can get your bronze and silver scheme, and then you can't get your gold until the dog is over 2 years old. But it checks all sorts: conformation, structure. It checks eyes, joints, spine, breathing, heart, all the things, knees, all the things, right? So anyway, that I'm sure maybe the Breed Council should probably do a bit of a education piece, because I'm sure that's probably been going 10 years, if not more. So maybe they need to shout out about that more. But anyway, so if the Kennel Club bring out the nose to tails thing, that's all gravy, isn't it? Because guess what? We've been doing that for the last 10 years anyway. Thumbs up if that's the case. So the Kennel Club are now sort of scrambling to put something together to say the IHA stuff, well done for making the effort, but basically it needs to be more scientifically backed and understood. And actually, we think our nose to tail assessment is better. Now, as I said last time, the worry with this IHA is you get your foot in the door of what dogs can and can't be bred from, and then they start making the criteria to be bred from harder and harder and harder. And be under no illusion, like this is happening in Norway. They have very strict breeding advisories. They can't breed over a certain COI. I think they're not allowed to use stored semen anymore, which is crazy. And even in the UK, there's been restrictions on how a dog is to be bred. And I won't go into all of that now, but whether it's natural or insemination. There's some companies, your dog has to be fully health tested for them to help you breed your two dogs together. There's quite a lot to it, basically. It's not as easy as chucking two dogs together as it was quite a while ago. Even in Holland, the breed is pretty much banned. You can't breed Bulldogs in Holland, you'll get fined. So this is very much a real problem. But frustratingly, like we've been ticking all these boxes for what feels like decades, and it's still a problem. So it is just crazy. So I just want you to be under no illusion of the pressure that's on Bulldog breeders at the moment to breed a healthy dog, which the right people have been doing that anyway. This is what feels like I'm smashing my head against a brick wall, because we've literally been doing that for decades. So my slight argument has always been, well, not argument, but and it's not a problem, but it is a problem. Not many show breeders have websites to promote their dogs because they don't need to, because they've got wait lists, they can sell puppies, it's no drama. So in their head, they kind of think, well, why do I need a website? Why do I need to pay someone a lot of money? Because, you know, most dog people, it's not their skill set to sit at a computer, design a website, code it, publish it, keep it updated. Like that's all hard work. Even you're listening to that to think, yeah, that sounds really boring. Why would I do that? And then equally, why would they spend thousands of pounds on getting somebody to do that for them when their life can carry on regardless of without having to do that, and their dogs will live an amazing life and they carry on showing and have the community that they've got. Now, my argument is that, well, actually they need to be doing that because they need to represent standard traditional Bulldogs, and because the people that are doing that are the people that want to make money out the breed, and they happily charge crazy money for a dog, so they can easily chuck 6 grand at a website, because if you're selling dogs for, 12 grand, it's a drop in the ocean, isn't it? And if that helps you sell more dogs for 12 grand, why wouldn't you do it? But show people aren't like that, and they don't like to be seen as being greedy. And there's a very big peer on peer um, influence, basically, as to how they're perceived, and they're worried about. They don't want to look like breeders, basically, of charging a lot of money for a dog, when really they are the people that should be charging the most money, because they are the people that know the most about the breed and to breed a quality dog. But my argument always is they should be using that money to build the website, to raise the promotion of standard traditional bulldogs, to be doing podcasts, to be sending out newsletters, to be building email lists, to basically be on TikTok, Instagram, all the things. But they won't. So I just get on and do what I'm doing here, trying to educate you people. But there should be more of us doing this. It shouldn't just be me. So that's the problem, is that all on these platforms, it's the wrong people. And they're the people that are causing the bigger problem of what the reputable legacy preservation breeders are now challenging. And so I tell you this because, and I mentioned about the AKC earlier on, the American Kennel Club. So the Bulldog Breed Standard had a big revision back in, I think it was like October 2010. What they did is they removed all the extremities. So like the Bulldog Breed Standard used to say large head, and now it just said like dog has a head, basically. But anything that said large, extremely short, long, tall, this, that, whatever, it all got removed. Now in America, they went crazy. They're like, oh my gosh, why are you allowing this to happen to your breed standard? And we're like, well, because the Kennel Club own the breed standard. And that's what's different between in the UK and America directly. Obviously, there's a lot of other breed clubs around the world, Bulldog breed clubs around the world. But in America, the breed standard is owned by the Bulldog Club of America, as far as I'm aware, or at least the breed clubs. So their standard will not change unless they want it to change. Now, we don't have that flexibility over here if we want to show, I suppose. And there's a bigger question about, well, do you know what? If we're jumping all through these hoops, and this is the problem that I feel, show people are being scapegoated, because we jump all through the hoops and then we still get told it's not good enough, and the hoops getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But obviously, I think it's something ridiculous, like 5% of bulldogs in the country are shown. It's such a tiny, tiny amount. So how can our lives get harder when we're not actually representing what's going on in the real world? What's going on in the real world is, well, 1,000 times worse. So I would argue that you can keep bringing in all these health restrictions as much as you want, but it won't fix anything, because the people that don't care don't show anyway. So I would have an argument, which I mentioned before, is that everybody gets licensed. Like, don't care whether you're having 1 litter or you're having 1,000 litters. Not, well, sure, there might be some people that have had that, but God forbid. That you all have to meet the criteria, because that's the only way to increase the standard of a breed, is that it applies to everybody, not the minority. Because to me, show dogs are just getting healthier and healthier and healthier. Yet we get more stricter, health restrictions and breeding restrictions, yet that doesn't actually help the other 90% of dogs on this planet, because they're not show dogs. We got to raise, what's that? Rising tides lifts all boats. So we need something that actually rises the tide for everybody, not just a small amount. But anyway, the Americans think us were slightly crazy, because we're like, why do you let the Kennel Club butcher your breed standard and we don't have any choice? But obviously how we interpret their standards, I guess, or their changes, is down to us. But that, be under no illusion, when you're showing dogs, it's not always fun. Like, you'll get the win, and then you get whisked off to a vet check, and then basically some independent vet can decide that they don't like you, or they don't like the dog, or just because it's got a bit of a spot on its tail or this, that, whatever, it's going to fail it. And then you don't actually get to compete further on in the competition because one person says they don't like the breed, basically. So for something that's meant to be fun and a pastime, that quite that can sap your energy quite quickly. So that's probably another reason why less people are showing nowadays. But I just wanted to give you the opposite side of the coin. So I talked you through what IHA are doing, and I've talked you through the counter sort of culture of what the Kennel Club are doing. So they're in a sticky situation. I don't necessarily think they've reacted the right way, but I've got a feeling what they want to bring in is actually what we were already doing anyway. And so I tell you this because I'm all for the Bulldog Breed Council scheme. Obviously, I've been in it long enough now. I generally don't get any surprises. But I think this scheme is good for somebody when you're starting out, or if you're looking to buy a dog, that you really want to be buying from parents that have had their health screening, because the risk is just too great to you buy a dog that hasn't. Basically, you just literally, yeah, taking a massive risk that you probably don't need to be taking. And after all, you should be supporting the people that are doing things right, not the people. And like, I don't even want to like villainize the people that don't health test. Some people just don't even know they should do it. But then what does that tell you? That you've not done enough research, or you've not found the right stud owner that's educated you that you should be doing it. You've just found somebody that's got a stud dog that just wants to take your money off you, get a breeding done and kick you out the door. So again, then you're not in the right crowd, are you? You're not in the right room. You need to get in the right room with the right people. And which is why I always say, even if you want to show a dog or not, you should buy from a show breeder. Or you should at least join your local breed club, which you would be able to find on the Kennel Club. You search breed clubs on the Kennel Club. Oh, that was the thing. Kennel Club had their own little meeting where they said, oh, we want to get like some major players, key stakeholders, to help us put together what we should do going forward. And they've come up with this nose to tail assessment. But everyone's been moaning about the Kennel Club website. They used to have an okay site. Then I'm assuming that they sort of made it more manageable and that it was more succinct, that the user face side of it that we see tallies in with the back end of it and all this kind of jazz. But the problem has been that it's a very difficult site to navigate. And what made me laugh, the upshot of the meeting that they had recently is that it's not a SEO optimized website, so search engine optimized website, which is ridiculous. So anybody that's like searching, Googling, wanting to learn about pedigree dogs, all the information on their website is probably not going to get found properly. And this is why the TikTokers, the Instagrammers, with all the trendy stuff is, being a bad educational lead for some people, because how can they spend, and they've spent millions redoing their website, and a lot of people say it's actually hard to navigate, difficult to find, that is not even SEO optimized, which is scary, whoever led that project. But again, that's for another day. But if you go on the Kennel Club website and if you look for breed clubs, you'll be able to find your closest breed club, and you should join it. Basically, you should support it. You should support the right people doing the right things for the right reasons. And years ago, you used to get sent a schedule when they were hosting a show, and maybe a newsletter and that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, like, the cost of postage now is astronomical. That generally doesn't happen. But if you were to join the Bulldog Club Incorporated, which is a national club, you will, I think they call it a magazine, they actually do that twice a year, which will be worth you receiving. And if you join the London Bulldog Society, they actually send out in the post a newsletter twice or three times a year, and that actually has like a whole show calendar. so you can see any more shows that are in your area. But honestly, the more you get around the right people and ask the questions, the more chance you're going to end up with a decent dog and a decent puppy. And you might even get the bug yourself, innit? You might even just think showing is something for me. And I mean, I know showing gets a bad rep of snobbery, and there's a whole film in it, Best in Show, which is hilarious, like the spoof parody film. And yeah, it is a little bit like that. I mean, dog people are eccentric, so you're going to get quirky people there. But I'm not necessarily a competitive person, and I've in the past done very well with the dogs. But that's because I'm just going to bench check my knowledge and my understanding, my capability and ability. It's not about actually bringing home trophies and red rosettes. So that's quite nice once you're there, if you're any good at what you do, that you pick those up. So that's it. I'm going to stop chatting. My junction's coming up where I need to turn off. And yeah, I hope basically I've given you like 2 mega updates on the wider world of dog breeding and where it's heading, and like some of the additional stresses that we're under as breeders, basically, and the pressure that the breed is under. And yeah, how can we make sure that the right people are supported going forward, and what are the right things for us to be doing to make sure that this breed still exists in another 150 years. So yeah, I've got lot more topics to talk about. I want to talk about the Breed Council, a little bit more on the actual health testing scheme and what it involves and why it's so important. I want to chat about coefficients, so we'll cover that at some point. And also chat about my Star Puppy Plan. So a course that I put together that will help you recognize the things you need to know about finding a decent puppy. But I just want to talk you through a framework to help you find a decent puppy, and it's quite important, and I think it's quite good because I've managed to articulate some things that some other people might not be able to. So that's it. I'm going to leave you for now, and I'll catch up with you when I'm either walking the dogs or maybe driving back after I've done this dog drop off. Who knows? All right then, bye. Before you go, head over to bulldogownersclub.com if you fancy a bit of support with your dog, help finding a puppy, or joining one of our fortnightly informal chatty community calls.